Grand Rising Loves. Happy Tuesday. This is a Mars day. And so Mars is in Gemini. Mars is the planet of war and the warrior. And so Tuesday is all about your mindset. What is your drive? What is your action self? What is your fiery self? How do you process resentment or anger? Because our rage being a sacred part of us, most people repress because they were taught that rage is ugly, or they witnessed a very dysfunctional processing of rage. But really, that discomfort that becomes rage or resentment is actually the energy that helps propel you into change. And so on Tuesdays, being ruled by Mars, Tuesdays are a really good day to visit that energy so that you can process it and express it in a healthy way, not in a destructive way. So just feel into that fiery energy, that drive today. And I did post something. I love Moon Omens. They make these amazing videos about the transits that planets make. And Mars being in Gemini right now is a very different energy. So it does make a difference where the planet is. It's ruled by Aries, but of course all the planets move. So whatever sign it's in has a significance. Also, where it is in your natal chart has a significance. So be aware of that energy as well. So today's spread, this is the sacred geometry that showed up for today. So the labyrinth combines both the circle and the spiral, but the labyrinth brings the message of clarity. And so if you've never been in a labyrinth, true labyrinths like this, it's one path in and it's the same path out. There are no secret passageways or false ends or dead ends. It is so straight in and out. But these windy paths, there's no tricks. There's no trickery, right? So it is the ultimate feeling of being receptive and safe. So you get to enter this state of deep feminine surrender, meandering your way into the center of the labyrinth and setting an intention before you enter a labyrinth, and then reconnecting when you get to the center of a labyrinth is what actually answers that initial intention for you. And so the path out is always about reflecting on that, how you are going to move forward through that new clarity. And so labyrinths are amazing. So you don't even need a physical labyrinth in order to achieve this same type of energy. You can imagine the entry into your heart space with an intention, going deep, finding yourself into the center of that space, and then coming back out with a directive energy to bring that into your reality. And that's the power of labyrinth. So meditate on that today, going inward and coming outward. Remember, it's a path that is not thwarted with trickery or false dead ends or anything like that. There's only one way in and one way out. And really, that's the human experience. We make it way harder than it actually is. It's our human that confuses things and corrupts the process. And so when we become less human, things become easier, less effort. And so the spiral showed up, and the spiral brings the message also of that ancient connection. And I always said, if the spiral shows up, I'm going to share the story of this show. And so in every life form, as small as seashells and flowers, so even wildlife, there exists the spiral. And spiral is the achieving of great peace, just like the labyrinth, right? You go in and you come out. But this was gifted to me. This is millions of years old, this shell, found in the heart of Yarmany, which was a mountain range. And so if you look up Yarmany, the heart of Yarmany exists in this very remote part of the mountain range, and there are no trails in. So Doug, my sweet friend, bushwhacked his way into the heart of Yarmany to camped out in the open air with his firearm on his chest because the mountain range is occupied by mountain lions. And so he decided in this moment of finding the shell that he would bring one back for Sherry. And so I always say I will share the story of that, because how phenomenal is that to find seashells in a mountain range, right? But also to be thought of in such extreme conditions. And I said, boy, you really raised the bar, Doug. Thank you. As far as gifts go. And so I am ever grateful, and really expands my heart to think of that story anyhow. So the spiral challenges you to ask for clarity. And it's the same as the labyrinth. So it's really echoing the sentiment of that card. And remember, these are the energies of the day. Are you needing clarity? And so maybe it's that piece of entering that deep receptiveness and feeling safe, because remember, the labyrinth has no tricks, no turns. It's just one way in, one way out. And so it feels safe. And it's really hard to feel safe in chaos sometimes, because we don't want to let go of the control. And the control really is not an ugly thing. It's really a trauma response. Control is a trauma response because you want to assure the outcome, because you don't feel safe. That's a complete trauma response. And so have compassion for that energy that is brewing inside you, that wanting to control, that wanting to think that you even have free will. And I've had this conversation with many other ascended people, and I don't believe in free will. I believe that if free will exists, and I know it does in the planning stage, before we are birthed, once we are here, we're in it, and we are experiencing it and observing it. And our human is what makes us want to believe that we can control any of it. And really, the surrender is letting go of that, to say, you know what, if I let go, things are still going to happen. And and will happen with greater ease if you let go. And be the observer that you were always meant to be. That's allowing the spirit to be in the driver's seat instead of letting the ego or your physical body become the most important facets of yourself in this human experience. So be aware of that energy today. And so the stone that's going to help you through that energy is Pneumite. Pneumite is also millions of years old, only found in Greenland. And they look like black jelly beans, right? You can't really tell the depth of them, but they actually look like the night sky. They're there. You can kind of see like these beautiful metallic flecks, like silvery flecks inside of them. And it has great, oh, look there, the light hit that one. It has great depth to it, but they're like tiny galaxies. I love Pneumite. And so Pneumite brings because these are bigger, you can really see. And these are the ones I use as palm stones, because they really don't sell palm stones of Pneumite, but these are the closest I could get. Crystal blue vibration, shout out. San Diego. So the reunion is recognizing that we are all one. So when we are birthed into the human experience, that's when we feel immediately forsaken, because there becomes this energy of separateness. The separateness is the human energy. That's the ego, but that's immediately implanted into us that we are separate. Oh my gosh, now we've been taken out of source and now we're put into this experience. And especially for older souls, that can be very intense and uncomfortable and, cause a lot of depression in older souls. And I have some people who feel very adversely about like the whole idea of death. And there's a whole group of people that fear death, and then there's a whole group of people that welcome death, and then there's the suicidal. And I knew for myself that I would never commit suicide, because I know what happens to those souls. They come right back, right? And you come right back into the same exact experience. You don't get to plan shit. You just start it go again. Like, how dumb is that, right? But like, I welcome death. I don't have a fear of death. And it's probably that energy that feels so dense to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm so done with this. But I know that this is going to be my longest human inception. And so I have to become comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, because I chose it, right? So I am in full observation of this human experience. And so at some point, that wasn't so long ago, I was like, okay, I'm in this shit. And I am ready to accept only pleasurable experiences, please, universe. And I sure hope that I wrote that into my blueprint, because I am done with this. And so just riding it. So kind of like, I'm on this inner tube, which is my human skin, and kind of riding the flux and flow of the human experience. And so that's being the observer, and I'm doing it. I'm really in it. And they make memes about that all the time, right? Like, you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I really am in this shit. I love you too, Lisa. I really, truly do. And so, some days it's more intense than others. And I have to recognize that so many people are just on the beginning end of it. So, of course, I have to have compassion for that denser energy and say, please don't show up in my reality anymore. So anyhow, the Pneumite really brings that ancient wisdom of oneness back to you. So that whole duality mindset, which is the old paradigm and also the corruption of the human system, that there is good or bad, dark or light, anger or joy. It all just is. It's a facet of the same oneness. And so when we create any separateness outside of ourselves, we are also denying parts of ourselves within us. And so that reunion is also happening in the deepest levels of self. So be aware of that. And so Lolo, the culmination of the spread is, do not be afraid of the spotlight. Do not hold your tongue or deny yourself being seen. Because Lolo, and I love the story of this moth, it's the Luna moth, and in dim light, it appears just like this gray creature, but as soon as it hits any kind of light, and this moth actually is diurnal, so it exists in the sun, but some say that it is the most beautiful insect that exists on earth, but it has to be in the light for you to truly see its full splendor. And so the message of Lolo is to stand in that. Don't be afraid of your full splendor. You standing in your fullness and in your most beautiful self does not diminish that for anyone else. It is also not selfish. It is not arrogant. It is not conceit. It is honoring self. Yes, stand in your splendor. So that is the message of Lolo. So the labyrinth and the spiral are asking you to get clear. So set your intention, go inward, and then the outward, coming back out of that clarity is like, what's the action I'm going to take from this clarity? And the reunion is recognizing that it is all you anyway. And so stand in that. Stand in your wholeness. Stand in your splendor. Allow yourself to be seen. So thank you. Thank you for gifting me your most valuable asset, your time and your energy. I so appreciate you, and I love you all. I love you. And I am sorry for any disharmony that I myself have created. Please forgive me. Thank you for the opportunity. I love you.